The San Francisco 49ers are all the way back. Steph Sanchez and I will discuss that and more on this episode of Bully Ball. Stick around. I'm Jason Aponte. That's Steph Sanchez. This is the Bully Ball Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. The San Francisco 49ers took care of business against the New England Patriots. This isn't your uncle's Patriots, but a win is a win, and we've been starving for one of those. Steph, how the vibes? How we looking?
Jay, you'll notice I am not wearing my This Is Fine shirt, so the vibes are sensational. I'm doing great. I'm smiling again. As Rob always says, the coffee tastes better after a win. So, yeah, that's how I'm feeling.
Amen. And I agree with that. And look, I think we're talking about a game that we fully expected the 49ers to take care of business in. And I think this isn't a game that I had overarching takeaways or learned anything about the 49ers. It just felt like this is what they were supposed to do. And that's good because they weren't doing that the weeks before. Although maybe Minnesota is the real deal. My goodness, man. Sam Darnold and them are looking great. They're 4-0. But in this game, if this is the team that we think that they are, then let's take care of business. And you don't really get credit for beating a team with a large talent discrepancy and coaching staff that's brand new and a quarterback like Jacoby Brissett. But this was the perfect game for the 49ers to kind of just build some confidence and try some things out, as we saw with Nick Sorensen blitzing a lot. Nick Sorensen, are you back?
Is he back or is he here? Like, is this his, was that his, like, coming out
party? Well, week one, we thought he was here. Week one, we thought he was here. We were like, oh, look at the adjustments being made. Didn't even wait till halftime. So, all right. So let's just say, is Nick Sorensen here? Is this something that we've seen the blitz increase percentage-wise every week? And this week it worked to perfection against a very banged-up Patriots offensive line, but they took care of business.
Yeah, and I appreciate trying new things. One thing that has been a contrast, I think, from what we've seen from the offense, we've talked about it here before. I've griped about it. The fact that on defense, we're seeing the rookies have a development plan for getting more snaps, like it seems like, right? Which I definitely appreciate. Now, a lot of it has had to do with injuries. Like, obviously, we didn't have Talanoa Hufanga in this game. Enter Malik Mustafa as a starter. Fred Warner, gets injured in the first half. Then you see D. Winters get a couple of snaps, but also Renardo Green, right? Like, that didn't have anything to do with injuries. And it seems like a concerted effort by the 49ers defense to get some of these younger guys some snaps, some experience. And I think we're seeing why that can be valuable to this team. It's a small sample size for these guys, but I think it's a sign of things to come, and development is always a good thing. So I'm glad that Nick Sorensen seems open-minded, is what I'll say. Like, he's not sticking to his guns. Otherwise, we would have probably seen the same game plan as a previous week, not mixing things up. He's trying to mix things up and see what works and what doesn't. Also, the fact that, this team's not going to have Javon Hargrave for the rest of this season. Like, what was that going to look like against the Patriots? Yes, I understand the Patriots, poor offensive line. I get it. But I think seeing what some of those reserve guys did and how they stepped up was positive as well. And seeing how Nick Sorensen used some of those guys, very encouraging too. So, yeah, I think you're right. Like, this wasn't an impressive win by any means, but they did what they needed to do. And I think, like, we saw what we needed to see from this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this was the perfect game to do this. Yeah. If it's a game with a higher end team, you don't want to start trying things that you're not used to. The Patriots offensive line absolutely banged up. Jacoby Brissett not able to throw the football over people's heads, right? Like, this is the time if you're going to do it. Now, you saw the screen that was, if you guys are watching on YouTube, Kyle Posey posted the blitz rates have gone up every week. Okay. And it's creating advantageous matchups. That's good. But this was the perfect week for it. You don't want to do this when someone else can hit you over the head, with deep passes, an offense that's a little bit better, maybe a better play caller who can adjust. This was the perfect time to try it. And you start to see the contributions happen. Malik Collins had himself a hell of a game. It was crazy. I had to double check because I thought I was looking at the wrong button and I put the wrong thing in. 32 pressures on how many dropbacks? It almost felt like every single time they were in the backfield, and Nick Bosa getting closer and closer. At the end of the game, he leads with pressures. Sammy O, this is such a huge development right now, because he's being used situationally and here and there. But we talked a lot about Yitzhak Gross Matos being somebody that, possibly could get the Chris Kosuric, stimulus package. Is it Sammy O? And I have a little bit of a crazy thought as well, too, with this defensive line. Leonard Floyd had a very good game as well, too. 6 pressures again. But what if Sammy O and others are in on base down, and now you can get Leonard Floyd into a situational pass rushing mode, which I think keeps him fresh, keeps his motor going. And I think that's kind of what I believed he would be. I think based on the injuries and the way that they didn't have trust in other people who had Leonard Floyd out there on base downs, what if you can get a lift here where you can find somebody who kind of wasn't expected to contribute? This is found money on the practice squad. And then we can get Leonard Floyd into a D4 package and get him as many reps in the right spots. I love this idea, and I think this was one of the better developments of this game as well, too, with the defensive line.
Yeah, and another thing I'll say about the defensive line, I think we're seeing how teams are trying to limit Nick Bosa. Like, oftentimes you'll see him have to go through 3 different set of guys to get to the quarterback. And, some of that has, of course, attributed to his lack of production on the stat sheet. But, yes, it was good to see him breathe some life into that in this week. I also think that's the importance of getting the blitz going, getting some other matchups going, so that you can kind of free up Nick Bosa a little bit and not have everything be so stagnant and predictable. Because, if it's going to be predictable, if I was an opposing offense too, yes, I would do the exact same thing that other teams are doing to Nick Bosa and dare everyone else to get to the quarterback, which they just, weren't doing in certain situations. So, yeah, I like mixing it up. Obviously, seeing these guys step up, like Samo, as you were talking about, it's a huge development for this team. Malik Collins looked great. Kevin Givens looked great. Like
3 sacks,
that's
apparently.
The kind of performance. Yeah, man, that's the kind of a performance you need to see from some of these guys. And yeah, I think this was a good matchup at a good time for the 49ers. Just, a team you can kind of bully and see what you can get away with, in a sense. But hopefully it's something they can build off of and that we see a little bit more of in the future as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what this was. In the NBA, when you're a shooter and you're taking all your threes and you're not making any, sometimes a layup, seeing the ball go through the hoop, can remind you of who you are. And that's what this game felt like right here, is we need to see the ball go through the hoop. Let me get to the free throw line, hit a few free throws, hit a layup, and then we can get back to what we are. The 49ers kind of had to remind themselves a little bit, like, regardless of what's happened through 3 weeks, we're still this, maybe not depth-wise and names-wise on the defensive line, but we are still built to do this. And I think that's what the overarching takeaway is. It's not that, well, let me shut up, because the 49ers are all the way fucking back. Sorry, guys. It's over. Here we go. We're running right to the parade now. But it was more about taking care of business and taking what was in front of you. So, again, defensively, you love to see this from the defensive line. Still would expect the 49ers to look to make a move, whether that's find someone off the street or possibly look and dabble in a trade. Not Devontae Adams, by the way, guys. Let's make sure we knock that one off.
Stale.
Okay. Yeah, that's done. Okay. But I do love the changing of the philosophy. It's not just rush 4 and get everybody back. If you feel like you're having a disconnect between the secondary, the best way to get the secondary going is to generate pass rush. You're doing that in advantageous ways to get one-on-ones. You're creating pressure. This is exactly what you need to see. And they're going to need that going into this Arizona game, because Arizona, while they got their doors blown off by Washington, I fully expect them to be annoying next week. I fully expect them to give the 49ers a big challenge, especially with Marvin Harrison and how Kyler is. We're going to find out if they can contain a mobile quarterback, which has always been kind of the crux of the argument. But you needed this type of game. And if you can find a way to keep people in the pocket, keep Kyler Murray in the pocket, then this could be a stepping stone to the 49ers just finding consistency. Not elite status. We got a little way to go, but consistency. The topic of this show is about elite, and we're going to get to the quarterback that is creeping into that. But you know who's really elite? the defensive player of the year through
Fred
4 weeks,
Warner.
Fred Warner.
Let's go.
Fred Warner played 20-something snaps before injuring himself, still led the team in tackles. Fred Warner is somehow playing the best football of his career through 4 weeks. How? I don't know. I'm just blessed. We're blessed. I look up and I pray to Superman and I'm like, why did you guys give us this? Thank you so much. He's everywhere. Anytime you need a big play, that interception looked like it was fake. If that happened in Madden, I would have taken the controller and tossed it out the window to have him intercept that pass and then run it back. I love Fred Warner. I'm going to let you throw some superlatives at him because I'm running out of ways to describe him.
No, he looked like a wide receiver going up and getting that one. That was like a Juwan Jennings level catch for Fred.
Mm-hmm.
No, man, like it's been what he's been doing like this whole season so far. And we say it so often on this show that every Tuesday, every bully ball, we could probably talk about the greatness of Fred Warner. And it still doesn't really feel like enough. And, you know, he's kind of a given at this point. But I think what he's doing so far through these first 4 weeks, it has to be talked about because it's on a different level than even we haven't seen before from him. So I think that definitely needs to be praised. And yeah, he's looking like early DPOY right now through the first 4 weeks of the season. No exaggeration. And it's crazy because, like, yes, he missed like the entire second half of this game and he was as productive as if he had finished the entire thing, right? So 1 pass defended, pick 6, 4 stops, and yes, in the season, just a 17.6 passer rating in his coverage. Do you know how like crazy that is? Like that's absolutely insane from Fred Warner. And you know, you said it, we're going to talk about the quarterback. What I'm seeing, though, from these first 4 weeks of the season, they are 2 clear leaders on this team, one on each side of the ball. One is Fred Warner. The other is Brock Purdy. Fred, like, leading the charge and having the speech in warmups, not even like pregame, like pregame in warmups, trying to hype up this team and get them back on track. And so I give him a lot of credit for that as well. And we talk about how that type of play is very contagious, right? Like you want to put in all in effort. Do you see like how guys looked when Fred Warner got that interception? Malik Mustafa like running full speed to get a block.
Pancake the lineman.
He could not wait to get a block in.
Mustafa just wants to hit anybody. He just wants to hit somebody. And you know what's crazy with the way that the game started? You know, he had a bad whiff, but he like looks for the contact, man. Mustafa's a nut job.
Yeah, and so like I just think the energy that Fred Warner brings is contagious. And you know, Jay, I know you were saying like the 49ers probably make a move for someone. You know, after this week, I think we got to wait a little bit more to see what the defensive line looks like, right?
Yeah.
Because I was worried about the defensive line last Tuesday, for sure. After this game, I'm a little worried about the linebacker situation outside of Fred Warner because I think Devondre Campbell, we've talked about it, like he's not looking like the guy you signed him to be. Obviously, Dre Greenlaw, big shoes to fill, but even outside of that, he's not being that great. He's not up to the standards of what we're used to from that linebacker room. DFF, you know, as well, you could put in that category. D Winters, I'd love to see him get more snaps. It seems like they're trying to ease him back in. Also, he hurt his ankle again, right? This was it, in this game. And so I guess we'll see what this week of practice holds for him. But I don't know, like it's getting kind of thin. Like we saw Tatum Bethune by the end of this game, Jay, and it's great to get the young guys going, but like, could you really count on that week in, week out? I wouldn't mind if they made a move at linebacker.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to boil down to availability and what teams are out of it and looking like sellers, right? Like I think when we were looking at the defensive line, we didn't think that Washington was going to be out here steamrolling everybody. So Jonathan Allen was somebody that we kept thinking about, like maybe, you know, I don't know, but if Washington's, you know, if they're contending, why would they move Jonathan Allen, right? Just a little bit to highlight Devondre Campbell and his struggles. Run defense 35 grade by PFF, tackling 27.6, 4 tackles, 2 assists. 3 missed tackles, 33.3 missed tackle percentage. Now, they were using him a little bit more, and this is what we talked about in the Rams game. They were using him more to blitz, right? And it's because of a matter of, well, if something's not working, why are you going to leave Campbell out there to get cooked, by one-on-ones? All right, so let's take him out of that and let's put him in a position where he can contribute. How, right? But yes, the drop-off from Dre Greenlaw to anybody was going to be massive. The funny part is that Devondre Campbell was an all-pro in 2021, if I'm not mistaken, and it was largely on the back of being a coverage linebacker. Like, he had like a 91 coverage grade, and he was out covering tight ends, everything. That seems to have all eroded completely from his game in a matter of years. Now, we know the cliff is massive, and it happens quick to players and everything as well, too, but right now, it's just the 49ers are kind of scrambling at that second that second linebacker position. And they'll probably stick with Campbell because of experience, and they'll try to do different things to help him out and alleviate that stuff. Because if somebody's struggling in something, stop leaving them out there to do that over and over. If there's a secondary member and he's getting whipped over and over, and man, then shade someone over to him, put him in zone, do something different. So I think that's a little bit of what really is going on with Campbell. So Brandon Green, sorry, words are hard. Brandon Green with the donation says, let Juice return all kicks. Bring back Joey Sly. I miss Joey Sly. Good to see you, buddy.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but he's on another team.
2 other teams. He was pretty good. Good to see you, Joey Sly. We don't got to talk about it, but I know what he's getting at. I know Look, you know what he's getting at. You know what I'm getting at. It's fine. We don't have to talk about that. Everything was fine with the kickers. But that's the defense right now. Obviously Renardo Green stepping up over Isaac Yiadom in snap count. Malik Mustafa getting his first career start. It's encouraging to see them try different things, and this is exactly the team to do it. You didn't have concerns about them beating you up over the top. I would have thought the Patriots were going to try to run the ball almost 40 times to just not have a chance to throw the ball. It was really going to come down to, can you slow down Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper? Not really a concern. Again, perfect matchup to try some stuff, put some people in there, see what works, see what doesn't, take what's working from one game plan, morph it all into one, and all of it has to be dictated by the opposing personnel and the play caller and what they can do. You can't run that blitz heavy stuff against somebody who's going to hit you up over the top, who's a better quarterback, better personnel, better play caller, but it works this week, and it's good to see them game plan specific for teams, and that's what we kind of saw. But let's do this. Let's go to the offense. I want to end with Brock. I want to talk about Jordan Mason and how this game feels like it was almost under the radar. Like, you looked up and you're like, 120 yards? Yeah? Really? How? I mean, it's just when you get Debo back, and obviously that George Kittle catch went crazy. And I posted a tweet from Next Gen Stats. It was a 14.2% probability of a catch. It's the 4th lowest expected catch rate of any receiver, the lowest for any tight end in the season, and the one for week 4. But man, Jordan Mason just kind of flies under the radar, especially when you get the news that George Kittle and Debo are back. 24 carries, 123 yards, and a touchdown. And it felt like it was just quiet. I don't know how to explain it. It's not that it was like not impactful, because it's like 5 yards, 6 yards, and he had a bunch called back, right? Like another touchdown. But yeah, it just every week. What is this what we're getting?
I think it feels that way because it's business as usual for Jordan Mason. And it's different from Christian McCaffrey, because I think like Christian McCaffrey, obviously also very efficient, but like he'll get those really big runs. Jordan Mason, like he's gotten really close to some like 25 plus yard runs. And like we've mentioned, some have gotten called back, including one of the catches that would have been a 30-yard touchdown in this game. That's another wrinkle that I love to see from Jordan Mason. And that's why after week 2, like I was like, yo, like let's get Jordan Mason involved, not just in the check down game, but as like a pass catcher. And yeah, he had 2 catches in this game, 37 yards. That's not counting the one that got called back. But I mean, his hands look great, right? Like he's reliable. And I think even on the ground, like that's what he's shown for this team. And it's crazy that it's gone under the radar, because he's literally the 2nd in rushing yards, only behind Derrick Henry.
And Derrick Henry had two hundo.
Exactly. So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why he's going under the radar, because everyone sees these like monster games from someone like Derrick Henry, a couple of monster games from Barkley. And like, yeah, maybe that's the reason that Jordan Mason's kind of, and he's not a household name, right? Like that's kind of why he's getting forgotten about. But what he's doing is nothing short of impressive. And we gotta take into account that he's also doing it while seeing the most stacked boxes of any rusher in the league. Like 42.9%, according to Next Gen Stats. That's how often he has seen a stacked box. And he's still putting up these numbers, 5.1 yards per carry. Like that's just an insane production. And so, yeah, it's been nice for the team to do that and to continue to have him involved in the game plan. Like he is a workhorse right now for this team. And it's working. And I think part of the reason too why like it's kind of flying under the radar is because the 49ers are passing a little bit more than they have in the past. But man, no, we definitely got to praise Jordan Mason, and it feels like he's becoming the kind of guy we can praise every week on this show as well.
The 49ers are currently second in the league with explosive runs behind the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers have 21 15-yard rushes. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, because every time I look up, Josh Jacobs is getting stuffed in the backfield, and it's that guy Emmanuel Wilson.
My league, I don't buy that.
I'm telling you, I'm not happy with him right now. But yes, the 49ers have explosive plays. They are second behind the Green Bay Packers. There you go right there. 21 rushes over 10 yards. Green Bay Packers 21. The San Francisco 49ers 16. Receptions over 20, 18 to 17. Second behind the Packers, 38-34. Shanahan tree's kind of thriving with the explosives. Sorry, Mike McDaniel, not you. I mean, LaFleur and Kyle Shanahan. Let's get to the donation. Stephen A. Smith says, late to the show, wanted to mention something I saw about Mustafa. I know Rob wasn't a fan of his missed tackle. I don't think we were. And you can't really call it a missed tackle. If you don't really touch him, is it a missed tackle? But did you see him destroy 71 on an INT return? That guy just wants to hit somebody, and it doesn't matter who it is. He seeks the contact out. And you like that. You like to have a thumper like that.
And sometimes he gets a little too excited, right? Like I think on that whiff, like he was a little too overambitious on that one. And
overzealous.
Overzealous. That is the correct word. Yeah. Nice.
Nice, right? It's that I have that calendar with the word of the day, and you have to use it.
I thought you were going to say the toilet paper that has
No, it's the calendar. So it gives you a word every day, and you have to put it into a sentence.
No, that's a good one.
You like that, right? All right. Yeah. So Mason's great. George Kittle, hello. George Kittle does get injured in this game, but he comes back. He should be fine. Everything fine. But that catch is incredible, man. He threw it up, and you see three defenders there. How on earth did he go up and get that thing, man? It's insane. Like, we don't really see 50-50 balls from the 49ers to anybody. To see him as a tight end get up and go get that thing, man, and just high point it and get 2 feet in. Whoo, my goodness, man. George Kittle, hello.
Really, really impressive stuff. And like, that's how you need to use George Kittle, man, because he's like a matchup problem for a lot of guys that he's going up against. Literally 3 guys in this clip, and he could jump right over all of them to still get that ball. Like, and he's also reliable. I think we forget how reliable George Kittle actually is, because he's not. Look, there's a lot of mouths to feed. He's not always featured in the game plans necessarily, but boy, when you throw him a ball like that, like, he is going to come down with it. And I mean, with the lack of juice that we've kind of seen in the red zone for the 49ers so far, aside from, that one drive they scored 3, which was on that one. But I would love to see more George Kittle involvement, right? Especially in those situations. So yeah, like, that's just having the utmost trust in your guy. And of course, like, as a pass catcher, finishing it off with that grab and, keeping control the whole time down. Like, that's very difficult stuff. I was actually surprised that it wasn't like the most improbable catch ever. Jay, I was a little disappointed, but
I need someone to explain that one to me and show me which one was, because like in the stat that I said, it was the fourth right. Lowest. I'm just like, what are the other 3? Like, I watch a lot of football, man. Like, I got to see which of the 3 plays.
Now I'm curious.
And I don't really have an idea either. Actually, I really don't have an idea. All right. Well, Next Gen Stats, if you're watching, I know you are. Please send the video, send the clip. Let's see it. But yeah, George Kittle with that play. Thought it was really interesting that Deebo Samuel started this game and immediately Kyle Shanahan was like, get him in the backfield. I get wanting to put the ball in his hands, but like right off the rip, like you're just going right
like,
back
are
to
you
him.
surprised?
A little. Can't we just ease him in a little? The way Jordan Mason's been running, we don't gotta do that.
That's true.
But then Isaac Guerrero fumbles, opening up the half, and I'm just like, that is the quickest way to get sent to the Phantom Zone. Yes. So here we go. I understand Deebo's here. I understand you want to get Deebo the ball. I understand getting the football to your best players. Can we just slow it down a little, man? Please, man. We're trying to get by right here. I don't think we need a Deebo-centric right off the bat game plan against the New England Patriots. I think Jordan Mason would have been fine enough.
Yeah. And I was a little worried that they were maybe rushing him back. He looked fine in the game. And yeah, I think when I saw that first carry, I was like, ooh, okay. I guess they feel fine about where he's at in his recovery. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that's the concerning part about the running back situation, because if McCaffrey is going to continue to, miss games, obviously you can handle everything with Jordan Mason. Like I said, he's got that workhorse, role right now. But outside of that, like, should anything happen, like outside of that, and I'm gonna knock on wood because I don't want to jinx anything, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, obviously Deebo being your RB2 right now is not ideal. I mean, but at the same time, you don't need to use him right now. So maybe let's just right? It's an idea.
Just an idea. I mean, you drafted Isaac Guerrero. You liked him. You traded up. Maybe get that guy to football. We're talking about what's going on with Christian McCaffrey. Now it's the question is gone with Christian McCaffrey about whether there's Achilles tendonitis in either legs, and just does Christian McCaffrey have legs anymore? Like has anyone seen him
every
with
day?
legs?
We learn more.
Right. Has anyone seen the next update is Christian McCaffrey is missing 2 legs? I'll be like, wow. Well, that's gonna be tough to come back from. That's gonna be that's gonna be kind of tough to come back from when you think about that. And obviously you're missing Elijah Mitchell. Kyle Juszczyk can't fill that role. Kyle Juszczyk, wears many hats. Running back isn't going to be one of them, like handling the football like up the gut. But yeah, the idea breaking news now legless. But yeah, the Deebo Samuel thing, I get it. It's just the idea of like him being the backup scares me a little bit more, because opening them up to those hits in between the tackles, possibly outside. But hey, everything's all good now. They obviously know what's best. We don't know what's best. It's fine. I was like, already first play, we're going right back to Deebo. Like, okay. I was like, you guys got it. You got it, man.
Guess he's healthy.
All right. Brandon Ayuk. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Everything's okay, guys. We don't have to get all mad at him now. Whatever. Christian Gonzalez wasn't all over him the entire time. You had to figure the 49ers weren't just going to allow him to be, thrown out there and just not do anything. You find different ways with either bunch formations, switch releases, whatever. You're going to get him the ball, right? He looked good in this game, and he's starting to round into shape.
That's exactly what we've been saying he's been doing for like a couple weeks now, right? And so, of course, like if you don't watch the all 22 after the fact, it would
watch
be hard
the tape is crazy.
It'd be hard to parse that just out of stats. That's why we don't only look at stats and we don't only watch the game broadcast. But I get it. Like, not every fan is like that adamant about watching film and don't care to watch it. But believe us then when we say that Brandon Ayuk has been getting open, and there has been some opportunities there. They just haven't, all the way materialized. It's going to get there. I think this week with Christian Gonzalez in the picture, I know you said like he didn't follow him. That was a good sign. But I wasn't expecting this week to be the breakout week for Brandon Ayuk.
It was going to be interesting to watch people.
Week 3, but
right, that's true. But it was going to be interesting to watch how people reacted to Brandon Ayuk with Christian Gonzalez being out there because he is so good, and how people were going to take that. I thought that was the part.
Yeah. And so I think there are going to be better days for Brandon Ayuk statistically, but like yeah, I think Jay's right. Like he is rounding into form, and that's what you want to see. That's what you want to see. Um so it might not be the same as last season, right? At least not so far.
He's gonna have to
But
go on an
what was that
amazing run.
pace?
He's gonna have to go on an amazing run. He's got
And I
167
don't
yards through
know.
four. Yeah,
I
I don't
think
know.
we know like that's not. It's a possibility. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but
What
probably not in the cards just because
1,300 yards? Let's see.
yeah,
Let me see.
it's
Math 1,000. He
it's
might need
something
1,200 more
improbable.
yards like for the next 14 games. Ooh,
A
math is
little
not
tough.
my
A little
strong
tough.
suit.
A little tough, just a little. And
I'd say under.
I think also like Brock Purdy has grown to the point of not relying on just one guy. Not that he did last year, but I think
Mhm.
like a lot of times he was looking for Brandon Ayuk in certain moments. Now we're seeing more Jawan Jennings, which I don't think we're mad at. We're definitely not
Nope.
mad at that. He's looked
Nope.
great.
We haven't even gotten to him yet.
So exactly. So let me not jump the gun, but I'm just saying like Brandon Ayuk probably not going to be featured as much as maybe he was last year.
Mm-hmm. And let's just go right to Juwan Jennings. I mean, explosive plays are happening with Juwan Jennings down the field, and you don't necessarily look at him as a burner, as a separator. And it's just the connection is there. And, obviously, with the way that the 49ers dictate their personnel, it's not going to be 3 wide receivers on the field unless it's third down, unless it's obvious passing down, something like that. Obviously, we always felt like Juwan just needed a little bit more of time to play, but that's just not the 49ers were not going to get away from what they're successful from running out of 21, keeping everything with run first and setting everything up and having him be there handy. But look at this, man. Look at this. Somebody who's sitting there waiting for his opportunity. We kind of just know him as third and Juwan and everything. He's introducing himself to America, almost getting more of a featured role. And look at what he's doing right now. And again, the way he's winning down the field, the way he's winning on deeper passes, it's less because it used to be when it was with Jimmy and when it was early on with Purdy, something close, make him run for it. Now you're throwing it beyond the sticks. And then that's going to be correlated to the guy that we're going to finish this out with. But Juwan Jennings has been incredible, man, and it's just been one of the really big bright spots. If I'm not mistaken, third in the league in receiving yards. If you had that on your bingo card, then tell me what the lottery numbers are, because I don't think anybody would have.
Yeah, he's now fourth after the games from Monday because
Okay.
Metcalf just edged him out, but that's still incredible. Like he's the third wide receiver on this team, and I know he's being featured a little bit more than what he used to in the past, but that's crazy to see from any receiver. And we're talking about Juwan Jennings here, so yeah, it's just incredible to see the growth. He also is seventh in yards per reception with 17.3. His catch rate over expected. I didn't mention this about Kittle. Kittle's second, actually. But Juwan Jennings is fourth with plus 20.4%. So, yeah, I mean, he's bringing something. I don't want to say different, but like he's bringing something new to this offense, and he is going to be a lot of times better than an opposing team's third corner. So you got to take advantage of those matchups. And he has crazy hands. Like does he ever drop a pass? Like,
And he comes down
that
with
deep
contested
one.
catches.
Yeah, that deep one, it was a hell of a throw from Brock, but I think it was just as impressive of a catch from Jennings, and the concentration level that he had to have for that one to bring that one down. I mean, this is exactly what you want to see out of guys that you draft in late rounds. If they can blossom into anything close to Juwan Jennings, like you're happy, right? Like it just feels like they found a pot of gold in him.
7th round quarterback, 7th round wide receiver. 7's a lucky number. Speaking of receivers, it was pretty cool to see Jacob Cowan get some run. And he who shall not be named was inactive. Hey, Jacob Cowan, hello. Look at you. Maybe Kyle Shanahan
he looked
does
good
watch the pod.
blocking.
He did. He unfortunately got injured in this one, but the idea that they're trying to get him on the field is something that's very good. Obviously, we found out early on that Ronnie Bell was inactive. That had to be that way based on everything. Is that a sign that, the 49ers haven't said that they've opened the window for Ricky Pearsall, but is that a sign that maybe, just maybe, we might see Ricky Pearsall a little bit to get him out there and get him going, and what that will do for the passing offense, which is right now humming?
I hope so. I hope so, man. Like you know how I feel about this, and I've said it in talking about the defense and how there seems to be a plan for those young guys getting more snaps here and there. I've been wanting to see the same for the offensive rookies, right? And I get it. Like sometimes they're gonna shoot themselves in the foot, like Isaac Rendo, in their limited opportunities. But that shouldn't stop you from trusting the next guy,
Hmm.
right? Like so, Jacob Cowing, I thought looked good in this game, and in the limited amount that he was in there wasn't a lot of snaps, but he did what you wanted him to see. Like if this was him passing a test, like okay, I'm gonna put you out there to block. Let's see how you do. I thought he did well,
Hmm.
and so if that leads to more opportunities, then yes, let's go and let's not
Hmm.
hesitate. I think for Ricky Pearsall, if I just had a guess based on how the 49ers handle this with the receivers, it's going to take some time for him to get on the field. Like he's going to be active probably, and he's not
Hmm.
going to get any snaps, or he'll get like couple snaps and just really ease him in slowly. But you got to pass those tests
Hmm.
that Kyle Shanahan has, and that's like kind of the frustrating thing, you know.
And the issue is, right, if there's going to be an issue, right, like there's a fumble or there's something, you don't just send a guy away, right? Like give him a chance to work back through it. What kind of confidence are you supposed to build when you make a mistake and then he's just like, get away, go sit down,
Yeah,
get
out.
out? Yeah, like shouldn't you be able to go right back to him and say, listen, shake it off, knock him on the head, you know what I'm saying? Say, let's go. What's crazy is certain people are allowed grace for their mistakes and certain
Hmm.
people are not. And it seems to be rookies that get the shortest leash. And if you are not in the circle of trust, like Meet the Fockers, you like once you're out, you don't get back in. But it's just weird because rookies have growing pains. Garendo's been somebody that is, we said was kind of raw and a bit of a project, right? But how is he supposed to get there? Obviously, practice helps and everything that you're doing, but just if he fumbles, knock him on the head and say, listen, we'll get him next time. Don't do it again. Make sure you watch the ball. Like, I'd like to see a little bit more of that at times. Go back to your guys. You drafted him. You identified him. Can't just be out on him when he makes one mistake. Plenty of people are going to make mistakes, but you allow them to go through it. You got to let these guys go through it as well, too, and really reassure them, like, hey, man, I got your back. Let's go.
Yeah. You're hitting the nail on the head. And I think part of that, what we've seen is if you make a mistake, you're automatically out, I think leads to the fear in some players, especially these younger guys. If, oh my God, if I make a mistake right here, I might never see the field again like this season. Like that's a reality that I think some of these players get in their head about. And that's counterproductive because then they're
Hmm.
in their head and they're not actually playing free.
Hmm.
So I think we've seen that a couple examples of that, and we've called it like Kyle Shanahan's tough love and the doghouse and all that, and only the strong survive. There's been a couple guys who have made it through. Um, but not without, I think, some of those moments where they do get in their head, and yeah, it almost makes it worse for the players. So yeah, I'm with letting them have the opportunity. Like look at Mustafa. He had a whiff on that tackle. He stayed in the game. Like they could have easily switched out and put George Odom in that situation. But he's still in there, and you know what? He's going to get better because of it, and he's going to continue to stack his reps and all that. So that's what I want to see more of from the offensive side of the ball. So while I'm not so hopeful about it, I do hope we see Ricky Pearsall sooner rather
Hmm.
than later.
And I think the safe money is on them easing him in. If not, like right away, I don't expect you to see him get out there. But it almost feels like Kyle Shanahan is Coach Boone from Remember the Titans. If you fumble the football, you run a mile. Like I mean, that team ended up with perfection, right? They finished the job and everything, under against all odds. But yeah, you have to let these guys kind of go through it. and you have to make sure that there has to be a balance of tough love and grace, right? Like it just can't be one mistake. Think about anybody who's ever had a job. If you have one mistake, you're out. What? No, like, you just gotta keep going. So yeah, I'd love to see that. But enough. Let's not bury the lead anymore. Brock Purdy is hooping. Absolutely hooping. Stop playing with Brock. I got things to say. I got hot takes to give. Here's one. It is week 4. Brock Purdy's playing better football than Patrick Mahomes, Steph Sanchez. Give me all the smoke.
He is. Oh, this is crazy, but he totally is. And I don't know what's going on with Mahomes. And
horrible decision making.
Man, not to like take a side turn, but I've been listening to like fantasy football podcasts, and they're like, hey, like, he's not a good quarterback for fantasy football, but don't worry, guys, like, he's still a good quarterback for like the NFL, just not for fantasy football. He hasn't even been a good quarterback this year for like actual games, like if we're keeping it a buck. So and I haven't liked the like, don't get mad at us guys for saying that he's not a good fantasy quarterback. Anyway, Brock Purdy has been awesome so far. And you remember, Jay, when we were talking about this offseason, we're like, yeah, I could see Brock Purdy not being as good statistically this season, because there's just like, there's no way. Like, it's just so hard to replicate that again.
We wrong.
Man, yo, this is like, I guess, the most positive development. And I think what's even more positive about it is that he's not good at the same things he was last year. He's better at the same things he was last year, and better at things we didn't even see from last year, right? Like, can we talk about the deep throws? Yes. Like he's wheeling and dealing, man. I think his deep pass percentage is 5th on the season, 14.8. I believe in week 4 it was tied for the highest with Lamar Jackson. And so that's a new wrinkle that we're seeing. Like, yes, we'd get some deep throws last season sprinkled here and there, but it seems like something that he really tried to like challenge himself with this season. Like, it seems like he is trying, like, it's a concerted effort to have more deep passes. And that's all while having one of the lower, like, pass play action in the league right now, which usually like that aids some of those deep throws and those big plays for a lot of quarterbacks, but he's doing it without that. And we've already talked about the fact that he's throwing it into tight windows, less separation. And that's not to talk about the wide receivers. That's just who Brock Purdy is targeting. And it's also another thing I'll point out. Yeah, it's fact. Another thing I'll point out, his time to throw is the slowest in the league right now too, which I think tells you he is looking to make a play downfield. Like, he is looking for those. Look, he knows he can do, 10-yard completion, dump off. It's like he knows he can do that already. He has that in his bag. He's trying to see what else he can do, right? And that's what we're seeing. And I think what we've seen so far is the answer is yes. Like, you can do it, Brock. Like, yeah, scream in the camera, say hi to your mom, because like you look incredible so far. And I think also last week, right, the fact that he did it without so many key pieces of the offense made it even more impressive, right? Now you get some of those guys back. You're still willing to deal. And like, he hasn't missed a beat. I know the offense as a whole could still stand to be a little bit cleaner. I think we can all agree on that, particularly in the red zone.
Yep.
But I think we are seeing exactly what we needed to see from Brock Purdy. And if I'm the 49ers, like, I'd be running to the bank and be like, what you want, buddy?
Yeah. So the confidence that Brock Purdy's giving Kyle Shanahan is what you're looking at right now. And what he's able to do when he's moving around, and you don't feel like, oh my God, he's about to do, like, I would like for him to get down sometimes. Like please don't just don't get hit. Just don't get hit. But everything else that he's doing is instilling confidence in Kyle Shanahan to either go for it. I trust Brock, and you're right. He's throwing the football downfield. Last season, the talking point was check down merchant, whatever. Yeah, he had one of the lowest check down rates in the NFL last year. It's almost like people just don't watch the games and you just say whatever it is, or you have a tough time understanding what a check down is. A design route to the flat is not a check down. A check down is 1, 2, 3 check down. It is not that. When you have Christian McCaffrey on a linebacker and he whips his ass and he throws him a 5-yard pass and Christian McCaffrey takes it, it's not a check down. So you have a tough time distinguishing what's a check down and what's a design throw. And in this game, Brock Purdy throws an interception, right? But on this throw, Peppers makes an incredible play. He leaves his assignment and makes a play. He pushes the boundaries. And yeah, you'll say, well, you don't want to see the interception. Sure. But I'd like to really point out all of the top quarterbacks in any statistical category or whatever list you want turn the football over. And they're usually at the highest of turnover rates. Brock Purdy's not doing it, right? Everybody wants Josh Allen. Josh Allen turns the football over a lot. Everybody wants Lamar Jackson. He turns the football over a lot. Patrick Mahomes, if he doesn't get a bunch of calls that are negating interceptions, he'd have far more interceptions. Brock Purdy right now is playing at a level that I can say is easily top 10 and has a chance to still be better because it's still not all the way there. That's what you should walk away in this game from with the 49ers team as a whole is this was a game that you absolutely handled business, and it's only week 4. Reinforcements will be on the way. You're going to get better and better as things start to click more. We are far from discussing meaningless training camp interceptions. If you are a Brock Purdy hater, if you are someone who doesn't believe, you probably need to find that book that I told you is in the library about learning ball because you don't know it. And it's sad that there's a lot of people that'll still sit there and try to make excuses. Why? Try to tell you why. But it's funny to me that everybody's about to start crying about Patrick Mahomes not having Rashee Rice and having receivers. Can't do one without the other. Kind of funny to me. Stop playing with Brock Purdy. He's absolutely put himself in a position to be a top 10 quarterback. I don't even think that's up for debate in any way.
No, it's not because, like I said, I think we're seeing some new things that we haven't before. And that's the cool thing about Brock is like almost every season, I think we've kind of said that. Like, it's like, oh, like he's added this to his game, like new wrinkles, right? And the way he's been extending the plays this season is some of the best like quarterbacking that I've seen, this season. So yeah, man, like I said, he's becoming a leader of this team. And I'm not just talking about in the locker room type of sense. I'm talking about like on the field, like putting the team on his back and making it happen however he can. And so he's doing that. I don't know what else you can want to see from Brock Purdy that he isn't doing right now. He's doing it.
Yeah. The easiest money in any sports book is over rushing yards with Brock Purdy.
Oh, so easy.
It's 7.5, 8.5. He gets on a 1 run. Oh my God. And I loved what he said at that press conference about I'm not Lamar Jackson. Doesn't that feel kind of funny that he said that? Is Brock Purdy on Twitter? Is Brock Purdy on Twitter?
I mean, he has an account.
But
I'm just saying.
Why that? Why say him? Kind of sneaky. I like that though. But again, the way he's playing, I think objectively, you cannot do a top 10 list in quarterbacks through 4 weeks and not have him on there. And I think that's the part. Yeah. I think that's the part
Brock's
that we should
Twitter
be talking
account.
about. Brock is on Twitter. All right.
He's
But
on Twitter.
He looked a little bit more like how he looked in Iowa State in this game, scrambling around, moving around. And Invader 49er, that's a false stat. That's not real. With the 10-yard split. That was debunked. That's what's so funny about him saying that. About the 10-yard split with Lamar Jackson. That's what's hilarious about it. That's the joke. It was a fabricated stat from Reddit. But either way, he looked like the guy in Ohio State who would scramble around, make something happen. Again, I'd like to see him get down a little bit earlier. Maybe just don't get hurt, But when he's making plays, you can't argue with that. Keeping the play alive, looking downfield, making the throws. So it's really good. He's sneaky athletic though, Invader 49er. That's the thing. It's just that Jackson and Purdy 10-yard split thing. That's not a real stat. It's not real. Jackson didn't even test at the combine. Remember they were trying to turn him into a wide receiver? But that's a funny stat. Brock Purdy's funny. I think he knew exactly what he was doing when he said that. But as far as what we're saying about Brock Purdy, objectively top 10 quarterback, let's argue about top 5. And I can name some of your favorite quarterbacks that I say that he's playing better than. And I don't really think there's much of an argument behind it.
It's been a weird season so far in the NFL. There's been some like unexpected things. Offenses in general, I think across the league have been a little loopy and not all the way put together. You've seen scoring across the league go down. But hey, at least we know that Brock is one of the good ones. I think that's what we've learned in all this.
And I have the utmost confidence in this offense to, if they need to throw themselves back in the game or they're down, I feel much better about this than I ever have. Sure, Kyle Shanahan does as well too. But this offense, in some way, Brock Purdy simultaneously lifts the floor and the ceiling. And you know, you can say what you want about the Avengers. Everybody needs help. Don't cry to me when Patrick Mahomes goes on Sunday Night Football and he can't get the ball. Don't cry to me about that. I don't want to hear it. Because if Mahomes doesn't need needs help, then everybody does. So don't give me that. Peyton Manning wasn't throwing to mailmen, right? He was throwing to Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne and Dallas Clark. He had Edgerrin James. I understand Peyton Manning is one of the greatest of all time. Brett Favre had weapons. Aaron Rodgers had Devontae Adams. I don't understand why Brock is the one who gets dinged for having playmakers, and then you're going to cry when Patrick Mahomes goes out there and he doesn't really throw the football to anybody and they have a tough time throwing the football because he needs Isaiah Pacheco and Rashee Rice. Oh, funny how that works. The arguments kind of unravel when you start to just look at things objectively and the things that you say, because now you're just shooting yourself in the foot because you cannot turn and say, I was wrong with the evaluation. I am being proven wrong daily, weekly by Brock Purdy. That's all you have to do. You don't dig yourself a deeper hole and try to double down and triple down. The humble man is the wise one who's the one who says, I was wrong. He's proving me wrong. And he looks very good. That's all you got to do. That's all I'm saying.
It's easy.
Yeah, really easy. All right. Let's see. We got another thing on the screen here. 14
this is what we were talking about since the start of last season. How Brock Purdy and Patrick Mahomes compare. 14-6 record. Brock Purdy has the edge over Mahomes on the passing yards. He has less interceptions, more touchdowns, a higher passer rating. I mean, the yards per attempt. Can we talk? Patrick Mahomes is a dink and dunk quarterback.
And he has been, and he was exactly that last year. And they have been since Tyreek Hill left. But I will give the Chiefs credit because they transformed their style. Mahomes is the one that, you know, when the game's on the line, obviously you'll take him. So I'm not trying to like play him out or anything like that. You know, it's not like that. But you have a play caller who understands how to get him involved and everything. Like I'm not telling you that Brock Purdy's better than Patrick Mahomes. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you that through 4 weeks, he's playing better football than him. Objectively. So that's the thing, is it's literally just being able to look and say, objectively, he's just playing good football. And no matter what, the offense still hasn't found its complete stride, is still working through some stuff, and we still haven't gotten to the place where we think they are. But this was a perfect game to build that momentum. You get a chance to go to Arizona. You play Arizona, and you get Seattle, and boom, look at you. You're right back in first place. Man, remember the sky was falling in week 2 and week 3. Look at us. We could be right back there, especially when you look at the way the Seattle Seahawks, although they were missing a bunch of people on defense, played, defense yesterday. What a shootout, yesterday.
Yeah, and their defense at times looked like they were kind of running in mud. It might have just, I don't know, but hopefully that's the version that we see in a couple weeks. But like you said earlier in the show, I do expect there to be a bit of a struggle against the Cardinals just because what they do offensively, I think, matches up well for them against the 49ers defense. So I think 49ers offense is going to have to put up some points. So hopefully they continue to improve and build on their red zone, looks, because they're going to need them. They're going to need to put up points.
And that's what happens when a quarterback takes up a bunch of your cap, right? You can't bring everybody back. We don't know what the situation is. I'm just giving you an example. You just need them to lift you a little bit more. And that's it. And I think what you're seeing is maybe a little bit of a glimpse into the future with Brock and what it could look like and how you should feel a little bit more safe. You should feel a little bit more safe. But yeah, 49ers blow out the Patriots. We're on to Arizona. The vibes are back. Parade's back on. Everybody get out the way. Break up the 49ers. Here they come. Fred Warner, DPOY. Nick Bosa getting sacks. We're all the way back, man. But that'll do it for this episode of Bully Ball. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow Steph on Twitter at Steph49K. Follow me on Twitter at JasonAponte2103. Subscribe to both of our YouTube channels. We have some good content as well there too. Make sure you subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcasts. And as always, go Niners.
Peace.